let's bring James Ham in here because I know he has great knowledge of this. The league that does it the best, and James, we're talking. We talked about it earlier. I think there should be a salary cap in Major League Baseball. I think it would help out the league. Um, just I'm for that. I think the floor should go up. We all agree that there should be a huge rise in the floor of what you have to spend. But I do think a salary cap will benefit the league. And I was saying the league that does it at its maybe most profitable. I don't want to say perfect, but profitable and works the best is the NFL.
Yeah, Kenny, I don't disagree with you about like the need for a cap, but here's the problem. The problem is that right now we're playing with such disparity that there's no way to create a cap.
Mm-hmm.
What are you supposed to I mean, do you create the cap where the Dodgers are right now or the Yankees are right now and then tell everybody else, "Hey, you got to catch up?" Because realistically that's what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'll have this whole, balloon effect. I think baseball, it's so unique in its salary structure that it's really difficult to create competitive balance because they rely on minor leagues so much. And guys go through the draft process and and then they get allocated to whatever minor league level that they're for their skill. But then when they come up, guys with 1, 2, 3 years of service in Major League Baseball are making like 5, 6, $700,000 a year. There's a couple of exceptions to that rule, but it's the only league with a true minor league system. And like we can talk about the G League all we want, but it's not a true minor league system. Players can't just go back and forth between teams. It's something I've sat here and talked about for years. Like if you're going to create a true minor league system in the NBA, then you need to have multiple levels of two-way contracts, or you just need to have it like if, hey, your guy plays for Stockton, he's eligible to come up, and maybe you have 2 or 3 roster spots at the back end that are just specifically reserved for guys coming up and going back down to the G League.
Mm-hmm.
But Major League Baseball, because they do this because of their salary structure, um, you got a bunch of teams that are waiting around to see if their talent develops, and then hopefully they'll make a run once their talent gets to a certain point. But you have so many teams that don't spend any money at all and just pocket all the money, and that to me is like the biggest crime that we've seen.
Right.
I get that, Yankee Stadium is going to sell out X amount of games and their ticket prices are higher and they're going to be able to bring in more revenue. Their television deal with Yes or whatever it is that they have out in New York is higher than you're going to get anywhere else. The same with the Dodgers. The Dodgers television, contract is going to be for their local stuff is way bigger. But I think that that's what kind of separates all the leagues. The NFL, all of their money is proprietary. It's all theirs. It's all the leagues, and they delve it out. So there is no local television network for TV, right? You can sell your radio rights, but that doesn't have a tremendous amount of value. What you can't do is go out and sell a package to Fox 40 or Channel 10 here in Sacramento of 49er games exclusively. And so the league controls all the money. And the NBA, it's sort of a hybrid model where the league controls a ton of money with their TNT, their ESPN, and all those games. But then on top of that, you have your RSNs, your regional sports networks, like NBC Sports Bay Area that plays the Giants and the A's games, where or the Kings and the Warriors games. So you have all that money for the NBA that goes to the team specifically. So when the Kings have a $35 million year deal with NBC Sports Bay Area or NBC Sports California, like that's just pure money that's coming in the door on top of all that revenue split that they get for the national television games.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of these leagues are set up differently. And I think that's what makes it so different and so difficult to just kind of like put a pure, hey, everybody should do it this way and every league should have the same. And like a salary cap will work here and it won't work here. It's just super complicated.
Who do you think, while we're talking about, who do you think has the best uh, CBA owners to player association agreement out of the major leagues, the major sports leagues.
Well, I mean, it's tough because you look at the NFL and what do we say? Like their salary cap is like 289 million or something like that. So each team, and there's 32 of them, are paying roughly 300 million for their team. So we're talking about like in the billions of I think it's $9 billion or something like that is going out the door to the players. So that that seems like a really good structure for the players, although it's so top heavy that it's ridiculous. You know, you have guys who go out there and get concussions, blow out knees. They get done with a 3 or 4 year NFL career and they can't walk anymore. Or when they hit 40, they can't walk. Or they've got, severe brain damage. They've got, mental health issues and all that stuff. Um, so there has to be something in place where those guys are getting salary that makes sense for them long term because making 500,000 or 400,000 a year for a couple of years and then never playing again when you're 26 years old, like that's just not a way to keep your players healthy or have guys have any longevity and any real true like I don't know, quality of life after playing the game. I think the NFL does. I mean, the NBA does have the best system. Like minimum scale contract for a rookie is around 1.5 million. The average salary for first, second, third year players is 2.5 million or something like that. And then on top of that, like the way that they subsidize to have older players stay in the league is something that I just think is totally missed. Like we talk about it. If the Kings sign Russell Westbrook, his salary is going to be like, if he's a minimum scale contract, it might be 3.6 or $3.8 million. But of that, the team only pays 2.2 and it only counts 2.2 against the luxury tax and towards your salary cap. And that other money comes out of a pool that the league pays for because they want to keep league minimum players. They want guys to be able to play until they're 32, 35, 38 years old. And if it works out, like, if you're a team and you're looking at two different guys you want to sign, and one of them's a better player, but he's much older, and he's got a minimum contract for his years of service, which is closer to $4 million, or you pay a guy who's an undrafted free agent 1.5 million. That's a decision that a franchise has to make. But when the league steps in and they put this nuanced thing that, the guy that you're paying for, again, 14 years of service, you only have to pay 2.2 million, and the rookie scale guy, the undrafted free agent, you're paying 1.5 or 1.6 million. So the difference is only 500,000 or 600,000 bucks. Then teams are like, hey, no, we're fine going with an older player and letting these guys continue to play. And again, I think it helps the value of the league. It helps the quality of the league, the quality of play on the court, because young players, a lot of them do need to go to the G League. A lot of them do need to work their way into the league. And a lot of older players, they don't have, the same skill they did before, the same athleticism, but they still have a wealth of knowledge about the league and they still help the quality of play on the court. And so you're willing to, supplement that if you're a league to make sure that players stay in the league as long as they want. So yeah, lots of like differences between all three of the major sports here in the States and how they handle, everything. So
Yeah,
Does the MLB need teams like the Dodgers, Yankees, and I guess insert whatever big name team
I think
like
so.
the Cubs and stuff to stand out? Because I feel like if you were to throw a salary cap and salary form, make it where everyone is just kind of equal, like the NFL. Like the NFL can survive off of whatever team in the playoffs. It's just that's the NFL. They market their teams really well, but could the MLB live off of Diamondbacks versus Royals World Series? I mean, just the playoffs, like playoffs where it's the smaller market teams that year, and not the big name teams or anything like that. Because I feel like the MLB, like it's pretty regional in the sense where like people follow their teams, and when it comes down to it, like you need the Dodgers and those teams to really get your money.
I mean, I think
Like, would that hurt the league if you brought those teams down?
I think I think you always to answer your question, yeah, it would hurt the league. I think you always want the big dogs involved. I think um, even the NFL wants the big dogs involved.
But like, who are the like big dogs? Like who are the big dogs for them? Like, I feel like they can throw any team out there. Like, people are just going to be tapped in. I don't
I
think
don't
there's
think
really.
so. I mean, they can rating wise and all this other
That's
stuff,
what I mean too.
but the Jags.
AFC
Nobody-
South doesn't count. AFC South, that all those teams started in the
Don't-
90s. They have
don't
no
nobody care
history.
about
Those
the
ones don't
Jags.
count. The Jags don't count.
I don't think the Bucks are provocative. I don't think. I like to be honest with you. No shade. I don't think the Dolphins are that intriguing. You know what I mean? I don't think the Chargers are that intriguing. So they have more teams with legacy like the Cardinals. They're not that intriguing. So, but you still get your ratings and everything else like that because they've built a situation that's able to sustain all that.
And that's what I mean. Like, could the MLB, like, could they handle that, sustain that?
I don't think so.
That's why I feel like a salary cap would hurt you too. Like, I feel like you need those teams to kind of stand out, or like a salary floor. At least these other teams are competitive.
Just like you say, go ahead and spend the money. That's what you do. Well, be better at team building. Like, now you can't just throw money at everybody. You have to actually build a team, build a farm system, and actually be good at what you're doing, as opposed to just throwing money at it. That's kind of also where I come from, to the competitive aspect of it. To me, it's easy for the teams with a lot of money to be good.
I get that.
You just go get you just throw your money around.
No, I get that, but I think that's also where you end up with a product like the NFL, and that's my thing. I don't think the MLB can handle that.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I think it's kind of funny, like the invention of fantasy football. I think it makes the league a global, well, or a countrywide league, but it's like globally, like everyone who is a football fan, like, I don't know, almost everyone plays fantasy football. And like baseball or fantasy basketball, they don't have the same connection. Fantasy basketball, first of all, the fact that teams play, between 3 and 5 games per week, there's no way to keep up. Like, you have to switch your lineups up every single day. You got to make sure that you're watching everything. Major League Baseball, they got so far down the rabbit hole of sabermetrics and the stats that it just loses people. Man, you try to play fantasy baseball now, and you go into a draft and you think you drafted a good team, and some dude drafted like 6 relievers that don't even get saves or wins, and they dominate your league because they're playing the numbers games, right? Where fantasy football attaches to everybody, and it makes you a better fan of the sport, right? It makes you want to flick on Sunday Ticket. It makes you, number one, watch football all day Sunday, but then watch Red Zone as opposed to just watching your game. And I think it's something that's so unique to the NFL. The fact that they only have, one game a week helps them, because then there's a buildup, there's an anticipation. The fact that they've sprinkled in the Thursday and the Monday night games. Now we got 3 days of football, right? And so at least you get to highlight a couple of teams on those other days. But then Sundays, it's just so specific. Like, everybody is huddled around their TV watching. And again, to bring in the fantasy football aspect, you're watching games that you would never watch. Like, if you didn't have, everyone has a stake in almost every game. You're
I gotta watch
watching
Jags Titans because I got Trevor Lawrence that day.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Like, you're like, hey, this Pittsburgh team is horrible. I don't want to watch them play. I don't care if they're going to be 500 or not. It's not fun football, but I'll watch them and the Browns because, number one, it's a storied franchise, a storied matchup, rivalry, but also because I might have like 6 fantasy football players or 2 fantasy football players, or I might be playing against 2 guys in that game. And so you end up watching where, again, baseball, basketball, they don't have the same like connection through like the fantasy sports stuff. I'd say outside, like, fantasy football is the biggest. And then the second biggest, like, sort of fantasy thing like that is got to be the tournament. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. Those things are way on the list. And I just think, again, it's the football has done a remarkable job of marketing their sport. The NBA has done a incredible job of marketing their sport and individual players, where the NFL struggles a little bit with the individual player thing because all the dudes are wearing helmets, right? Then you get to Major League Baseball, and they're just the biggest failure when it comes to marketing their players, when it comes to social media, when it comes to, like, we've talked about this, like Kyle and I have, but we both work for NBC. Like, you can't put highlights up. And if you do, it's like, as even the broadcast partner, you get like 2 highlights a game that you can put up. So you can't run every angle of some incredible catch in like the 3rd inning because you don't get a bunch of extra highlights to go after. So you've got to hope that if you do run that highlight, that there's not going to be something bigger and better later that you miss out on. And it's all of these things that they've done just to hurt their product and hurt the promotion of their players and the promotion of their league. And, shutting down for a year doesn't help. Resetting fan bases on the steroid controversy doesn't help. All of these things, all the other sports, they've all had those same exact things. Like, how many guys have been busted in the NFL for taking steroids? How many guys, even in basketball, there was a time where, a handful of guys got busted for taking steroids. Now we've got the whole gambling thing that's going on where teams are dealing with that. But it feels like the NFL is just, they're so much better prepared to deal with the controversy and to push through than the other leagues.
And one of the things that I'll say too, and I do want to talk Kings with James Ham because that's we got some things to talk about with there. But I went on this diatribe like a week ago, and you know better than I would about like the amount of highlights you can have or whatever. I think Major League Baseball is doing a fantastic job right now. They are killing it. They're doing a fantastic job. And you talk about like highlights and being able to do stuff on social media. It's all over the place. I know Jesse sees it too. Talking baseball, talking baseball. That Twitter's anything. I can follow the entire league every day with just going to Talking Baseball's Twitter site, and they have the highlights when Patrick Bailey had the walk-off winner inside the park home run. It was all over the timeline, like all over the timeline. It was everywhere. I think Major League Baseball, the only thing that Major League Baseball isn't doing right now is the A's situation. That's it. Other than that, they're doing a fantastic job. And I don't know who's behind it, if it's Manfred or there's other people around them, but promoting the stars, promoting the game, including people. I talked about the All-Star game. One of the frustrating things that I used to always have is, they would have the All-Star game. This is, when everybody's tapped in the middle of summer, nobody's got anything else to do. And you'd always have, no disrespect to anybody, but they'd always have some country person performing at the All-Star game. I'm like, how this just screams, this isn't for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This year, and I'm not saying it has to be all hip hop or nothing, but this year you got Ludacris and Jermaine Dupri out there in Atlanta showing, paying homage to Atlanta's hip hop culture out there. And then you still had for the national anthem, I don't know who it was, forgive me, but they had won 4 or 5 Grammys or something like that, some alternative group. Like, you can do both. They get that now. Major League Baseball's been doing an absolutely phenomenal job in the last 3-4 years of changing the dynamic of how they promote their league, promote their players.
But they're like 10 years too late. I mean, that's the problem. They're so far behind the NBA. Again, I sit like most nights between Sean Cunningham and Matt George, and they both have cameras rolling the whole time. They're looking down, then they flash up to the scoreboard so they know the score and the time. Then they go back down to the game. Then when something happens, they pull their card, switch in another card. They start editing the video. It's just like nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have television rights to that game.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, and Major League Baseball forever did not allow that at all, where you can go and be a local TV guy. You can go get interviews. Yeah. But the highlight package is somebody else's highlight package, is something that's pre-packaged and sent to you. And you can cut it up and move it, all the highlights and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's not your camera out there taking the picture. That's where the NBA is so different. And again, the embracing of social media, like most, again, football and basketball, they got it, in the late 2010s, 2006, 2007, 2008. That's when they start jumping in and like, hey, this Twitter thing, I don't know if it's going to last, but let's go for it.
Real quick, James, though, isn't the NFL the one that put the restrictions on now? Isn't the NFL the one that you can't have highlights on Twitter and stuff like that? They find a way, obviously, because everybody
probably
else,
now, but
when they restricted it and said you can't, they don't allow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what made them change that, but they're the
It's
ones
tough.
pushing it now.
Yeah, just like let your product out there. Like everyone's watching, and I know it has a certain amount of value if you control the highlights, but not really. Like now the ability to just right click, copy and paste into something else. You see that all the time where people just steal the video, or guys are out there, just running on their laptops watching an NFL or NBA game. And I accidentally hit the thumbs up.
My daughter loves that. And then if you do the piece, then the balloons go up or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, Kenny. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's spectacular. Yeah, I just think it's a really, like the way that they handle their business is so different. And that's why, it's so hard to say like salary cap, non-salary cap, what they should do. I do think that any league that has one team that has a $45 million payroll and another that has a $345 million payroll, a $300 million disparity between payrolls, that's insane. That's not competitive balance. That's just bad business. It is. And it's allowing somebody else to do bad business on your watch, allowing one of your, it's like if you go around to all the McDonald's and then you drive into one McDonald's and like the sign is broken and falling down and they're charging $8 for a cheeseburger, and like their soda machine is broke every single time anyone goes in and the place is filthy, like that represents all McDonald's. Just like the A's represent all of Major League Baseball, all of these teams, Florida, they represent every bit of Major League Baseball. And if your answer is, well, we just won't put them on TV on Sunday Night Baseball, okay, but then you miss out on something amazing like Nick Kurtz going 6 for 6 with 4 home runs and 8 RBIs.
Right.
It's tough.
I feel you. I definitely hope that the players in Major League Baseball get their just due, get their money. I agree with Jesse. He's 100% correct in that respect, where they need a floor for this situation to make sure that these players are getting, or these owners are spending the revenue that they're getting in from baseball and putting it back into the team. But I also think it'd be a bad idea if they took a year off. Major League Baseball cannot afford to not be around.
No.
That would set back, in my opinion, that would set back everything they're trying to work for to get or to keep when you talk about the players. And that's just the unfortunate situation of it. I wish they could, fight more, going against the owners even crazier and be like, hey, we're ready to blow this whole thing up if you guys don't give us. I wish they could, but I don't think that would be the best situation for them if they're fighting to keep, the money that they are able to get.
Well, Kenny, and just think if they kill an entire baseball season, number one, getting the fans back will be like nearly impossible, right? Especially for like, let's say the A's. If the A's are during that time, they decide to move to Vegas, like starting over fresh with trying to build a new fan base when baseball's been gone for a year, that would be nuts. But the other thing is they'll never get the revenue back. They'll never come back and match the revenue that they lost from that year, which means that salary cap, whatever it might be that they're going to fight for, is going to be way less, because it should be a true split, some sort of split of baseball related income. And the players should get a certain percentage and the owner should get a certain percentage, like basketball, where I think it's a 51-49 split, players to owners. The owners get to keep their equity. The players get 51% of all basketball related income. And so like there is a way for this to work out for everybody where everybody gets fed. But I think also like parity in the NBA is like spectacular right now. Seven different world champions in 7 years. That's parity. And I think the NFL has parity as well. They just, if there's one team that stands out, it's the Chiefs, and they just happen to have the best player who gets them to the Super Bowl all the time.
Yeah. James, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Kings. We'll talk about the potential of Russell Westbrook being here in Sacramento. And I think people are kind of looking at the Kings with a Russell Westbrook or with a Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis, they're looking at it in a way that, I don't know, they're conflating two different arguments and two different issues. I'll talk about it. I'll explain it. I'll see what you think about it. It's James Ham here on D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320, Sacramento's #1 sports station. I'll be right back. Good stuff, man.
What's going on, everybody? No, the Kings haven't picked up Westbrook, Gilbert. There's a lot of rumors. Boy, do we live in a crazy world. Oh, wow. ESPN 1320's own Dusty Baker will manage Nicaragua in the baseball classic, the World Baseball Classic in 2026. Nice. And Nick Kurtz won a second straight American League Player of the Week. If he didn't win it this week, that would be a problem. Mr. Rancho. Okay, I'm not for or against the Westbrook signing. I think we're going to discuss here in just a minute. But I need to know what the roster looks like afterwards. Like, yeah. Yeah, Bryce. Kurtz is running away with the American League Rookie of the Year. And he's running right past Jacob Wilson, who will get second, unless Jacob Wilson just starts hitting again. He's in a little bit of a slump, but he's been spectacular. Huh. I don't know what's going on with the Christian Wilkins stuff. What else do we have in here? Yeah, how many times is Drew Down is the damn ice cream machine broken? Or do they say, oh, sorry, it's already closed for cleaning? It's like, it's 7:00. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm on
Yeah,
McDonald's. Go ahead, James.
Miss Mac, I do think some team will pick up Trey Lyles. Trey is just at that point right now where he's coming off a couple of seasons of injury, where he's gonna have to take a league minimum salary.
Hey, the McFlurry is overrated, correct? Listen. When's the last time you got a McFlurry? It's like, wow, this is. Hold on. Wait, see, now you're attacking me the way they attack you. You're not listening. You're hearing me, but you're not listening. Okay? How many times do you get a McFlurry? It's like, damn, this is all ice cream and no Oreos or something like that. Like, they never make it right.
So, okay. All
right. That's what I mean by that. Like, the concept is perfect, but I haven't gotten a good McFlurry in a while now.
You get in a McFlurry, even though it's not the way it necessarily should be, you still get about 60% good ice cream with the Oreos.
Oh, you get about 80% ice cream, and then they hit the little nozzle for the Oreo thing to come out, and this is the top. That's all it is, bro.
Of the ice cream, 100. You eat the whole thing. That's 100%. I say if you're mixing it up right and doing what you're supposed to do, you can get 60 to 70% of good Oreo McFlurry.
No, because I'm just crushing up the 20% of Oreo to make that 40%. That's not how it should go.
And you know the McFlurry, the spoon they give you is what stirs it's like it goes on the spinning machine.
All right, me and Jesse now fighting about Oreo McFlurries. I wouldn't call it overrated. I'm not saying you're wrong. I wouldn't call it overrated. That gives a different context to what you're saying.
It's like that Oreo Eagles team with Vince Young. You're like, oh, we're the dream team. That team was hell overrated. Had a bunch of good players, but in reality, not a good football team.
It's like Jalen Hurts being the top 10 quarterback.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to start a lot more fights.
That's funny.
That was a low key. I want to say all-time moment, but that was a good moment.
Hey,
Lazy was
Studio 2 got
pissed.
real hot.
Lazy was
Studio 2 got real hot on
Lazy
Friday.
was pissed off when Cam Newton said that Jalen Hurts was in the top.
Invoked the name of Carson Wentz. Was like, who's talking about him? It's crazy Friday, James.
James, do you agree that McFlurry's overrated?
Well,
Given
I mean,
my
compared
points
to
that I
what?
stated.
Compared to like as opposed to like a Wendy's Frosty, yeah, McFlurry's overrated.
Wendy's Frosty.
Frosties,
There.
Nah, I
Frosty's
know
way
what the
better.
Frosty. That's cool. No, Oreo McFlurry's 10 times better than a Frosty.
See, nope. The idea
Oh
of the McFlurry.
no,
Even
no, yeah,
even with the 60%, Oreo.
See,
that
now
I
you
get in
never
it's
dipped your
still
French
fire.
fry in a Frosty, huh?
No, hell no.
See?
No,
it's the
you
best,
never went.
Jesse.
Yeah, no.
What do I need to do that for? That sounds ridiculous.
You ain't lived
It's
yet.
the best. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I'm sure I
Like
did
I
one
would.
thing, and I said, why did I do this?
Okay, so the McFlurry, you know how the spoon is like weird and square at the top.
Yeah, I don't know if they still have those either, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Like a
so it
paper
used.
spoon now.
Yes, that's why.
Okay, so it used to be that plastic spoon, like the McFlurry machine, doesn't have a like. That's what stirs it. Like they make your McFlurry, they throw the stuff in, and then they jam it up in a machine, and that your spoon is what stirs. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Play on. Play on.
I saw something different. We're gonna have to meet at midfield and see what we saw.
We flagged you earlier, Kenny. We flagged you.
That was a
time.
play on too. That was a play on. That was a play on. But yeah, I used to like those spoons. They don't have them no more though. They just give you any old thing now at this point. Everybody's just getting cheaper with what they do and how they go about things, but charging you more. That's the whole thing. Check this out, Jesse. Are the Kings getting cheaper with the way that they go about building a roster?
That's a
by
pro
trying
right
to
there.
move on from somebody and get Russell Westbrook at a bargain? What do you think about the potential of Russell? First of all, I'll ask you this, James. What have you heard about the potential of Russell Westbrook becoming a Sacramento King?
Well, I've heard the same thing since the beginning. Like, yeah, they would love Russ, and I think Russ would be perfectly fine coming to Sacramento. Like I think that they've painted a very good role for him that they think would really, work here for everybody. That would give him the ability to, earn minutes and, at what is he, 37? But at the same time, it only works, and this is something that I've heard from inside too. It only works if they can trade Malik Monk. And you can throw in the Devin Carter thing in there. I've heard that like kind of thrown in a little bit like, hey, they've got to move on from one of these two guys. Realistically, it's not one of the two guys. Like Devin Carter isn't promised to play a minute this season. Malik Monk is one of your top like 5 players, and he might even be higher than that. So you've got to figure out a way in which you can clear up roster space and minutes for a guy like Russell Westbrook. Like bringing in Westbrook, or let's just say you did something crazy like traded Keon Ellis and thought, oh, well, we'll just put Westbrook and Malik Monk in the backcourt. That's not going to work. Like either one of them don't play defense well enough at this point in their careers to make that work. But also they're ball dominant players. They want the ball in their hand. They're playmakers for themselves, for others. But deep down they're playmakers, and playmakers need the ball in their hand to play make. And so I don't think that would work if you're coming off the bench with a tandem of Monk and Westbrook. So again, I don't understand the idea that, if you trade Devin Carter, that you could fit Russell Westbrook. Like Devin Carter is going to have a tough time playing minutes in Sacramento either way. When you stack, I mean, barring injury, but when you stack up the minutes that Schroeder and Monk and Keon and Levine will play, there's not any extra time there.
Yeah, I think they already have a logjam at that position, before they've added anybody else. To me, between Schroeder, Monk, Keon, and Devin Carter, there's already one guy that's not going to get damn near any minutes. And I'm talking about Devin Carter. So, like, if you were to add somebody in that situation without removing somebody from that logjam, it would get even worse. Here's the thing that, let's just say they figure out how to do what they need to do. They add Russell Westbrook, and it's not anything crazy like Keon Ellis going away or they take away Malik Monk. I also think if they were to move on from either one of those guys, that would also probably bring in a Jonathan Kuminga type player. I don't think it would just be for nothing. But let's just say they go into this season with Westbrook coming off the bench, Zach LaVine, um, Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis. I think a lot of people look at this team as some sorry team. Like, oh, here we go, 32 wins, And I think they look at the team like that in part because a team with that type of collection of players at that age doesn't have a future. But I try to say, don't misrepresent not having a future with just being a sorry team. I don't think that's a bad team. I think that team is probably around where the Kings were last year. Maybe if you talk about the coaching staff having more cohesion and just a better overall dynamic on the floor with guys who are used to playing with each other, maybe you can be 2-3 wins better. But even if you don't like the direction that team has moving forward, I don't think the Kings are just some sorry team that's going to win 31 games this year. I just don't see that. They have talented ball players on there.
I think what I saw yesterday, I haven't looked, but maybe Jesse can check this, but like Vegas win total is at 35.5 right now. That's not good. That's a consensus, number that you're going to get. And, they're not going to take the over, like leave the over there for a bunch of people to, say, oh, I think they're going to win 40 games if they didn't think that they would be able to make money on the other side. I think it's interesting too. Like, Kenny, one of the things I keep seeing people freaking out and about trading Malik Monk or, like, here's from Russ Dog, why does Scott Perry feel Russell Westbrook would be a better fit over Malik Monk? That's not the question. The difference between Russell Westbrook and Malik Monk is probably going to be 14 million in salary. So the reason why you would trade Malik Monk is to go and acquire another player. And if you can't really acquire the player you want by trading Malik Monk, you might be able to acquire the cap space you need in that transaction. So that's why we're hearing Malik Monk's name mentioned. I would also bring up like the 2027 season that we keep hearing about. It seems so far away, but realistically, it's 2 seasons, and it's not next summer; it's a summer after, right? Malik Monk will still have 1 year left on his deal. It's a player option, but it'll be for over $20 million bucks. And so there's a good chance that if you're the Kings, you're looking at that too, as like, hey, if we're clearing the books, wiping out a $20+ million salaries 3 years from now, today might be the best way to do it. We might be able to get value for that contract. And like, look, the other thing is the Kings don't have a bunch of players making that type of money. So they've got a bunch of guys making a ton of money. They've got the 25 million, 24.5, whatever it is for DeMar. Then we jump up to Domas at like 43 and then 47, whatever it is for Zach LaVine. But then as you go backwards from Malik Monk being that 18 to $20 million range, there isn't anything until you get to Keegan, because you can't trade Dennis Schroeder. You just signed him, right? So after you get to Keegan, there's a big gap in your salary structure. So you got guys making $6 million or $5 million, the Devin Carters and Dario Saric's of the world, but then you have a bunch of minimum scale guys. So, again, if you're going to go out there and try to make a move for a player that you think can change the direction of your team, and that might have value out there, a guy like Malik Monk, it might make a lot of sense to move him, because again, you just don't have a bunch. Again, if you're going to take on a $20-25 million contract in Jonathan Kuminga, you have to have that money go out the door in some way.
Vegas, you're right, James. Vegas has the Kings at 35.5 wins.
Yeah, FanDuel, their sportsbook, had them at 35.5.
FanDuel's got them at 35. I'm looking at DraftKings right now. They got them at 38.5. That's a little bit more of a. I would pause a little bit before taking the over. The 35.5, I'm taking the over. I was looking last year, the Blazers won 36 games. The Spurs won 34 games. The Raptors only won 30 games. Like that, I think that this team is, I don't want to say easily because anything could happen, trades, injuries. Now that changes. That's how, gambling on these wins totals work. But if this team is together for a good amount of the season, I would easily take the over on 35.5. What do you think about that though?
I think by the time it's all said and done, it'll be like 37.5, 38. Like, I think that they're going to get a lot of people jumping in early at 35.5 thinking, oh, there's no way the team is going to be that bad. But at the same time, I'm not sure I can point to something this offseason that makes me confident that they're going to win as many games as they did last year. Because, I mean, whether it was like the best start to the season or not, I mean, you've lost a lot since last season. From last year's starting roster, you lost De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles. By the end of the season, you lost Jake LaRavia, you lost Jonas Valanciunas, and you're replacing those players with guys that may help you, but also, again, I don't think Dennis Schroeder is sort of like an equal, like to what you had last season at the end of the year, not at the beginning. Clearly the Drew Eubanks and Maxime Reynaud combo behind Sabonis is not as good as Valanciunas. Trey Lyles is, again, we talk about veteran minimum stuff. Trey Lyles is what we're talking about. Like, that is a solid NBA veteran. And while, there's potential for Isaac Jones to be a better player than Trey Lyles at some point during his career, he's not today. Trey Lyles is still a better player. So there are all of these aspects of what the Kings are building that I can see why Vegas is putting him at that. And also, look, there's a pretty negative vibe right now on, not inside Sacramento, but outside of Sacramento about what's happened here and how you went from a 48-win team that looked like you're on the cusp of, being a true contender with a move or two to a team that, went 46 and then 40 wins. Like, the experts that we all like to bash on all the time, I hate to say it, but they've proven right almost every season in the last 3. Just straight up, they have.
I can't say nothing about them. I can't say nothing about the Kevin O'Connells, about the Zach Lowe's, and what's the other one that was used to be the GM and now he's a writer?
Hollinger.
Yeah, shout out Jameis Ramsey.
I can't say nothing about the Hollinger and all those guys, man, because everything that they've talked about and every concern that they've had over the past 2 or 3 years, they've been right. They've been right. So now you see something that's going on, and you can't really question it. If you ask me, it's more of a wait and see, or you can agree with them 100%. But yeah, I agree with you. Even if we sit here and we talk about the ways that it can be a little higher than 35.5 nationally, and in Vegas and all this other stuff, they look at the Kings like this is just a crazy mess. Like, they're not doing anything productive. So I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Every year I go on the Dunked On podcast with Nate Duncan, and he's always harsh. And to be honest with you, more often than not, he's right. There have been a couple of seasons where I'm right and he's not. But I think it's also, I'm an optimist typically. I'm also a realist who doesn't have any problems like sort of going factual here and going off in numbers based and stuff like that. But I don't know what they have. I just know that the way that it finished last year, the look of the and feel of the team, that we all expected major changes. And, I can talk about all the players that aren't there anymore. But to be honest with you, there's still a bunch of dudes who are here that didn't really fit together. And so we're still stuck with, the product shouldn't look all that much different, at least the starting product. I mean, again, I'll continue to say this. It's a coin flip for me between Dennis Schroeder and Malik Monk starting. I don't think that there's a big difference between those two players. Do they have some nuances to their game that are different? Yeah, sure. But when we're looking at tiers of players, which Kyle invented, we're looking at the same tier of player and very statistically similar player. And again, they might have some differences to their game, but like I mean, maybe you'll be a little bit better at that position because you have two of them for sure. But as opposed to the beginning of last season where you had De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, that's no comparison. That combo was like 10 times better than what you're running out there this year. And that's because De'Aaron Fox was an all-star level player.
Jesse asked the question earlier in the day. I'll ask you, do you think that there's potentially a concern about, because the future looks so murky for this roster and the guys on here, that you'll have guys on the team, the Sabonis's, the Levines, the DeRozan, who maybe aren't as locked in because there is so much uncertainty with where this franchise may be going under Scott Perry?
You would hope not. I mean, especially you just named three guys that, I mean, quick math, I'm going to say make around $115 million next year. Those three players combined. So like if they're disengaged, that just like it'll push the button further. Like that means that like, look, I don't think DeMar DeRozan's just going to cash in his 17th NBA season. He has a reputation to uphold. He has scoring records that, he's moving up the list, 25th all time in scoring. But I definitely see like, hey, if you're not engaged, if you're not ready to play, if you don't want to be here, then Nate Clifford is going to play a bunch more minutes, and Isaac Jones is going to play a bunch more minutes at the 4, and Keegan Murray is going to slide over and play a bunch of minutes at the 3. And the same with Zach LaVine. Hey man, if you're disengaged and you don't want to be here and you don't want to play defense, you don't want to be part of what's happening, then Keon Ellis is going to take your job. And maybe Devin Carter pushes for minutes, but also like you have the option of playing Malik Monk and Dennis Schroeder together for stints. You're going to have to in order to get them the minutes that they want. They're not going to each get 24 minutes and be happy with that. So, there are ways in which like you can push players to play, if they aren't giving you what you need to get from them, just going a different direction. And, I don't think that that's where it will go. But I definitely think that there is, there's going to be competition for minutes this season.
And, to be honest with you, one, that if those guys do kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, says a little bit more about their character as basketball players. And I don't want to say lack of professionalism, but, you still got an opportunity. You got an opportunity. This isn't April and you're, 10 games out of a playoff spot. Like we're talking about the beginning of the season, the first month or so of the season. You got to find a way to kind of push through that and be the leader that this roster, that this organization is looking for. Or else, like you said, they'll go searching for somebody else to do that. The other thing about that as well is you've got DeRozan, yes, Sabonis. Even if they weren't completely sold on what was going on, I don't think they ever cheated the team or the franchise. They came out every night ready to perform, ready to compete. So I don't think that'll be the case. But also, I think a lot of these guys, DeRozan, LaVine, and Sabonis, even Schroeder in there, there's a level of respect that they have for Doug Christie. And I don't think they would mail it in on a guy like Doug Christie. And that's not what Jesse said earlier either. He didn't say they would mail it in. But I'm just saying in general, I don't think that – I think Doug Christie can get through to these guys to make sure they stay locked in on whatever path that they have consistently throughout the early parts of the season.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I would just tell you that I've seen way more experienced coaches than Doug lose a room for no reason and just have things not work out. So you hope that doesn't happen, that there isn't like some sort of disengagement. But I'd also like for a guy like Zach LaVine, like if you truly like, and I'm not saying he doesn't want to be here, but if he doesn't want to be here, what you can't do is mail it in. If you want to leave, then be efficient put up the same numbers you did last season, be a good teammate, and they'll find you a home. Like if you want to just like, again, like trick off this season and act like, well, I still got one more season under contract and I'll build my value there. Like that's not the way this typically works. You don't want to have a season at age 30 where all of a sudden you look like you're shot, because you're certainly not going to get anywhere near the money. Someone asked earlier if there was a chance for like, Zach LaVine to opt out of his contract for next season, and so he can go sign somewhere else. And like, there's not a player in the NBA that should opt out of a $49 million contract, because you may never, ever, ever not only make that money, but you could never make a tenth of that money. Like again, DeMarcus Cousins, go do the math. When he got traded, he was about to get a $211 or $219 million contract extension. I don't know that he ever made another $20 million after he left. Like after he didn't get that extension, and I don't know that he made another $20 million after the contract that ended, that was going to be extended.
Well, you know what DeMarcus should do? DeMarcus should have some Baker family wines. That's what he should do, man. Because from the baseball diamond to the vineyard, Dusty Baker's journey is as legendary as a swing. Baker Family Wine celebrates Dusty's passion for handcrafted, small lot wines crafted with care right here in West Sacramento. So you should join Dusty's Clubhouse for exclusive releases and tasting room specials and savor beautifully balanced European-inspired wines made from true fans. Visit the tasting room and taste the story behind the legend today at bakerfamilywines.com. You might even see me there, because I like to tap into Baker Family Wines. You might even see me there. So make sure you go to bakerfamilywines.com to go see what Baker Family Wines is all about and get one of those tasting room experiences. Dusty Baker named the the manager of the Nicaraguan team for the World Baseball Classic. I just saw that earlier. Shout out to my man, Dusty. Dusty always grinding, always working. And so are you, James. So are you. We appreciate you, man. You're always grinding here at 1320, whether it's the Insiders, whether it's D-Lo and KC, and I appreciate you that. Real quick, I'll ask you this before I let you go. 2-word answer or 10-second answer. Russell Westbrook, does he end up a Sacramento King?
Coin flip.
No.
They got to find someone to take Malik Monk if that's what they're doing, and that's tough. I mean, we're late and there's no money out there.
Yeah, I got you. All right, man. I appreciate everybody that pulled up on me today. I appreciate Sarah Hodges. I appreciate Tristy Rodriguez. I appreciate Guru, even though he didn't pull up on me. I appreciate James Ham pulling up on your boy, and everybody that tapped in during this past week while D-Lo was on vacation. D-Lo and KC was still cooking. KC and friends. It was a rousing success. We're going to have to do it again soon, but it ain't the same without my man D-Lo. So I'm glad he'll be back tomorrow. He'll be done with champagning and campaigning, and we got some football to talk about. We got more King stuff to talk about. There's a number of different things that we'll have to talk about tomorrow, and it'll all start right here, ESPN 1320, 10 a.m. with the Insiders. Make sure you stay tapped into them. D-Lo and KC at noon. You know we got you, baby. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento's #1 sports station. Vamos, Gigantes. Let's get a win.